Okay.
That's a Swedish, what should I say, retro science fiction kind of thing. I haven't seen the TV series, but he made in particular his first book of this kind of 1980s Sweden combined with robots and huge infrastructure was pretty cool. So yeah, right. Good.
This is the this is supposed to be the I can't share that picture. Oh well. I was gonna say, if you had an actual train wreck picture on your wall, either the authentic Montparnasse one or the one from the island of Sodor.
Yeah. Yeah. Thomas the Tank Engine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's funny how kind of ubiquitous that train wreck picture is in some ways.
Popularized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that photography, I think it's like 1906 or something like that, and I think that photography was just coming.
Yeah.
1895, it says. Yeah, 1895. So I think photography, it just, there weren't a lot of pictures, and this one probably went around the world, right? Because it was interesting, and it was the first one of the early photographs that was reproduced.
Yeah, and it looks kind of interesting. On the other hand, I guess, back in those days, early days of railways and railroads, I think the number of accidents and the number of sort of horrendous accidents with a lot of dead people, kind of, humanity was a slow learning building safety stuff.
Yeah, and it's certainly also the case that so much of the digital infrastructure, even the word semaphore, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Why do you think
all
we have not
from train safety, right? So much of that was created there. Do you know that if you want to study computer science in Russia, the premier place in Moscow, right, is essentially the university devoted towards train scheduling.
Oh, okay.
Right. And I think to a certain first order, the word for computer at one point in Russian was train scheduling equipment.
Yeah.
Right.
It is a tough. I think it must be one of the sort of first real. Obviously there were ships and stuff before that, but they never ran on sort of that tight schedule, and you obviously need to fix the schedule because otherwise it won't be safe, because you can't have two trains on the same track at the same time and everything. So, but it's also that's why we have the 19-inch rack is also what came out of railroad equipment.
Right. Right.
So you can reuse like 100-year-old railroad safety racks because they're built to the same standards as today.
Yeah, there was one show that was done on railways through time, and one of the episodes, hour-long episodes, was Railways in War. And one of the claims from Holocaust deniers is that they couldn't possibly have moved that many people around. And this show argues as well, it actually only took 1% of Germany's railroad infrastructure to move that many people, and that they had 400 trains a day on the Eastern Front to supply the troops that were fighting against Russia. 400 trains. They were they were basically running. They had no signals, and the engineers were basically just running. They were told, go as fast as you can until you see the lights of the train in front of you, and then slow down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it takes, right? It is it's a logistics thing. You need to work it out. But and I think I've read also sometimes around the World War II in the US. I mean, the railroads got their shit together and started shipping stuff. I mean, it gives you scale to a sale. You cannot get that scale from trucks, or you can get the scale from boats, but you won't have that many boats, right? So yeah. Anyway,
Ari and Carsten. So it's the four of us. It's 10:05. What about Mr. Kostiak?
Michael,
where he is?
I think he was. Wasn't Michael Koster on? No.
Yeah, I think Michael was at least planning to join. Not sure where is he though.
Last seen 7 hours ago.
Yeah.
Who else is active?
Yeah, it's early, but yeah. Maybe we should get going with. Can somebody? Well, of course, I have it somewhere here. Should we try to ping him?
I did send him a ping on Telegram, but
Okay, cool. But maybe we should get going and see where we. I mean, the smallest interim ever, perhaps, but small at least. I think we need to have something and get going and move along.
At least we don't have more chairs than participants.
No.
Yeah.
Who wants
I've seen
slide
smaller.
control?
So Meet Echo is not working. Yeah, it works.
What do you mean by? Oh.
I wonder. So he's trying to log in. Where did I have that? Okay, so he's joining. I guess we should get going then.
Would you like slide control, Nicholas?
Or you can do it. I don't.
Yeah, I'll give it to you. I'll take notes.
Okay. Yeah, that's better because my multitasking skills are crap. So cool. Let's see here. Can I move with? Nope. Right. Welcome. Hi, Michael Koster. Welcome as well to this first interim of 2023. We haven't had one for quite some time, which is, well, for various reasons, but hopefully we can get this going again and finish it off. This is an IETF meeting. You will be recorded, and I think we are recorded automatically, right? We don't have to do anything. Yeah, good. So this is the short note. Well, you will be recorded, be nice, professional, and follow the IPR guidelines. And here's the repo and the notes. We had some mess getting the notes right, but that link should be right. The longer note, well, I don't think we have to look into that because you've seen it many times. Yeah. And the code of conduct, we know each other. We don't have to read this, but be nice. Again, I like the short form of be nice. The agenda for today. First of all, note well the logistics. You see logistics there. There used to be a Meet Echo link. I think that might have got lost. Blue sheets covered by Mitaco. And then we have a quick status update from the chairs. Hi, Michael. And then we get to the sort of the meat of the meeting, where we try to look into getting the SDF RFC or the draft ready for moving on in the process. You know, this stuff, nothing interesting. Status update. There are two things here. Obviously, you know, there's history and everything, and we lost some steam in 2022. We would like to get that back and finish this. Unfortunately, the draft expired, but Kirsten just resubmitted, so we are now on version 13. That's good. Thank you very much for that. We need to really get this to the finish line. I think we've spent quite some time sort of ironing out bugs and so on, so let's try to finish it. We have a number of additional documents created. That's on the next page. But before we go there, I think we should say a few words about our meeting plans. We should obviously have more virtual interims, but the big question is, of course, should we have actual face-to-face in Yokohama? And we still have like 2 or 3 weeks to this. Well, actually, I don't remember the deadline, but we have a couple of weeks to decide that. But I don't know if we should have an ASDF face-to-face, or if we just try to meet in the hallway, or what makes sense. My rough planning is going to Yokohama this time, so it's I don't know what other people feel. I don't think we maybe don't need an ASDF to actually in a meeting there to get this done, but it's more that we could make some, you know, show it off perhaps and be visible before we will become the first virtual work group in IETF that never meets. Karsten, please.
Well, we already have a virtual group, which Michael is chairing, the seller group. Was there ever a physical meeting of the seller group?
Yes, in October, not an IETF meeting. In October, okay, at in The Hague, at the No Time to Wait meeting, we had an interim meeting.
Great.
Yeah, there. But yeah, I was going to say that given the size of our group, literally getting together for coffee, if we're all physically there, is probably easier to coordinate than actually getting the Secretariat to do something for us, to schedule us. And given the number of conflicts that we get with other IoT stuff, I'd rather just remove one of the conflicts and yeah, have a virtual meeting in late February and have another virtual meeting in early April, if that's what makes sense to me. And then, you know, we could have a 2-slide update that goes into, I don't know, IoT ops or core or whatever, just to tell people, a wider audience, where we're at.
Mm. Yeah, I think these are good points. There are also some other points. Being at a physical meeting gives an opportunity for people to join. Of course, conflicts are a problem there always. Whether that makes a lot of sense depends on what phase we are in. And if we actually are getting close to IETF submission, to ISG submission, then actually having a physical meeting is useful. So this is really the question of how are we going to use the next 2.5 months. And if we actually arrive at ISG submission, then I would very much argue for having a physical meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would also think like having a physical meeting would be great. I mean, for the fact we haven't had one, but then also perhaps actually getting a bit of a wider group together. And one thing that would be for having it on the agenda is exactly to avoid those conflicts. So we would have a place where we wouldn't be ourselves conflicted. That said, of course, we are likely to be a small group, so also a side meeting is a very sensible option. But it might make it easier for us to find a place to actually meet if you were on the agenda.
Yeah. I kind of I understand. I do see both sides of this, and it's maybe something that we need to discuss a bit more. I haven't looked into how the yes, there will be, of course, conflicts and stuff. So maybe I think it would be, I mean, given the amount of time and so we actually spent on this, it would maybe make sense to have it spread to a larger audience, and having it visually sort of in the agenda for IETF would probably make it more, even if it's a small meeting, there's some more people, walking into the room and so on. I think I would.
Okay, so we're going to schedule it. Is there something that is there anything? This sounds silly in IETF, but given where we are in the document, is there some kind of a tangible demo that that might be helpful for people who wander into the room to understand what we're doing or to motivate it?
I mean, we have the old demos. I guess we could always update them.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have running code and stuff. Maybe not the latest version of the specs. And I don't know, Ari, if there is something from your side that we could.
I'm just thinking about providing a kind of no, I am talking. Yeah. Okay. I thought my microphone's muted. I'm just thinking about, if we're trying to attract more interest, then something that explains what we're doing, or people can see what we're doing, maybe motivate them to actually go read the document and give us the kind of reviews that we need to advance the document.
Yeah. I would also think that if we make a face-to-face, it would not be like like 3 minutes past we start with the first issue of the draft. It's more like we spend like 10 or 15 minutes or maybe even more working through the kind of where we are and showing some demo and do a bit of roadshow kind of thing, and then get to the more kind of concrete technical things. I think that would be the best way. So Ari, or you're still in the queue here? Sorry, we may not using the queue as good as we should, but Ari.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, we do have the one-page website demo that allows you to translate between 5 different representations. That's certainly something easy to set up and show as a way, like, okay, what does this technology actually do? So that might be useful.
Yeah, that actually opens a question: do we want to prepare something for the hackathon that precedes 116?
I guess you could always use the hackathon to polish the demo, right?
That would be pretty much my objective here. But
yeah.
we also have, in 1DM we have the Bluetooth issue. So if we could generate some progress on Bluetooth, that would certainly be a good thing. And that also would make a good contribution to the demo, because that nobody will have seen that.
Sure, but I get the feeling, and we shouldn't spend all, because we have actual other work to do as well. But Michael Richardson, are you okay with actually trying to push for schedule a 1-hour meeting to sales pitch ASDF and SDF in general? And
yeah,
so on.
I don't object to it. I just didn't want us to meet for the sake of meeting. Yeah, I at this point I don't think I'm going physically. That could, but that decision is not final until maybe the end of next week or something. But basically, I don't really feel like I have funding to go to all 3 IETFs this year, and that one will be the most expensive one. So there you go. But I don't have a problem with what you're proposing. I think it's a really good idea. As you say, the hackathon is good for you know, updating things, and also that happy hack hour thingy is which I've never really been to, might be interesting. The other side is that anything that we do polish, I really think that probably needs to go into something, needs a bit of a roadshow to some other IoT venues. And so I think that's, even if they aren't, we don't expect them to contribute anything, I think it's valuable for them to understand that this work exists, and then they'll talk about it to other people elsewhere. So, you know, and well, we'll also have a video. We'll have a recording of the meeting, which also could be shared.
Yeah. So let's do it like this. Let's I mean, let's say that we have an intent to meet and have something in Yokohama, and maybe we need to hash it out a bit more, the details of what we could show and so on. So we might not want to schedule the slot this week, right? But take like in the next week a decision to go or no go for that, and then figure out what should it look like and what can we demo, and you know, are people going and so on. Because I think we already, sorry for spending already 20 minutes on this this one here, but yeah, good.
That's okay. We're establishing schedules and deadlines, so that's actually a useful thing to do.
Yeah, yeah, cool. But then let's move on. And maybe this was just to show the number of documents we have, and we have you know, obviously the SDF, the main SDF draft, and we have the young one. Karsten, do you think will there be any further work on the young SDF mapping document, or?
Well, maybe. So Jana has moved on, but there may be other people picking this up. So I don't know. I would be interested in keeping it alive. And right now it still works because we haven't changed SDF a lot. So the mapping is still correct. And it's work that really maybe belongs into the research group. I don't know. But that should be kept alive.
Same with the SDF mapping. This which one was the? No, okay. Now I missed the compact notation one. I was looking for that one.
Yeah, the compacting is just a tool thing. So whenever I get time to actually work on that tool, I have way too many tools queued up that I should be working on right now. I think the concept is sound. People have looked at it and found it useful. And I just need to make sure I have all the components together to turn this into a really useful tool. And then I will update the draft.
Sounds good. Yeah, and we have been talking about the relation and the link type documents in 1DM, and we are moving along with them then. So they're definitely live as well.
Yeah, so I think mapping, relations, and SDF type link are the 3 documents that should be on our plate as a working group next.
Yeah.
So the other two compact and yang, these are useful individual contributions that can stay individual contributions for a while. But I think the lower 3 are the ones that we should make sure we are chartered when we recharter after delivering the first document, and we should make sure that we work on these.
Okay, Fine, thanks. With that, I think we can move on to next step in the meeting today, which was supposed to take 50 minutes. Sorry for that, but we have getting the SDF ready for working group last call. And so Karsten, I think you can do the talking here.
Yeah, thank you. So we had about half a year since -12, and I wouldn't immediately subscribe to saying we ran out of steam. I think it's more like the steam went somewhere else, and I think we did use the time to actually make sure that the 1DM requirements are indeed covered. Requirements are always a weird thing because in engineering there aren't requirements. There is design, and the requirements work with move with the result. Anyway, so I think we have completed that 1DM completeness check phase, and we just now need to zip things up. And draft -13 is just a version that includes the one PR that we actually had, which fixes essentially a bug. The text already had the change, but the CDDL didn't, so that is now fixed. And yeah, we have 17 issues. We need to finish them. We need to make sure that we beyond what we have captured as issues, we all do readiness checks for our applications, run the working group last call, and of course also identify a document shepherd. So do you want to give me the controls?
If I figure out how, yes.
Yeah, you go to my name on the participant list, and there is a little thing coming out on the right. And
let's see, pass slide control. Yeah, cool.
Yes.
There we go.
Now, if I saw the controls appearing, that would be even better.
No?
No, it's the thing is still with
passing it to
Niklas.
you again.
Ah, yes. Now, thank you.
I just passed it again. I guess chairs can always pass it, or interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So this means we do not have open PRs at this point in time, and that is of course a deficit because you need to get better in converting issues into PRs. And we have 17 open issues. That sounds like a lot, but actually they are of varying urgency and quality. So let me just talk about these 17 issues in 7 groups. So the first group of issues that we have discussed, but we just haven't completed, probably because there are so many ways to skin this cat, and we just have to come up with a basic one that solves our problems. We had discussions about the version field. One way of handling this is cramming as much information as possible into the version field, which makes this a parsable item, which is not really the right thing to do things when you already have a language like CDDL that you can use for structuring things. So maybe we should simply revisit the info block issue one final time, make sure that the various usages in 1DM and contributing organizations are covered, and write up what we need to standardize about that usage. So that would be my plan for number 29, but it's not something that one of us can just run ahead, because we really have to look at the way we are using the version field and related fields. So if you have any comments, this would be a good time to put them in. Ari?
Yeah, I guess part of this work, we would look at this adding the information about the creation date as a specific field in case where you want to have the version field contain other information and date information. I guess this goes to the same issue, yeah, because that was already identified with the Web of Things ecosystem. Okay, thanks.
Good, and we go ahead. And we had discussed that it would be good to have rules for combining information from info blocks into composite models. I don't think we are in a position to define these rules. So this is maybe more of a model guidelines thing. So this proto document that is currently starting to exist in the wiki that Ari has pointed to, that could capture information, how you handle compositing models out of individual ones, and that of course should also address how to handle the info block information. Ari, can we kind of give you the token on number 29?
Sure, I can take a first step.
Thank you. So next group, SDF type. I promised to write the text for having an IANA registry for the SDF type values. I didn't get to this, but I think it's pretty clear what needs to be done there. We may need to discuss the IANA policy for this, but yeah, I think that's maybe not that consequential, because if people want to squat on an SDF type, they will do it anyway. So yeah, so this is just a matter of writing, and I don't think we have open questions about that. So the next group is names. We have several issues that discuss names, usually around evolvability and putting things into namespaces. So we have number 83 that just the title just says CDDL, but we need to define it, and whether we do that in CDDL or not, it's not the important part. So how do we handle qualities that have a namespace name in them? And one proposal is right there in number 85, which would provide an IANA registry for those namespaces. So that sounds very weird initially, but I think it makes a lot of sense. So the various contributing organizations could simply register the namespaces there, and we could make sure that they don't conflict. And number 67 is about further defining the syntax, not just of quality names, but also of given names. So the names that are internal to the model, those also may want to use namespaces, and we have to discuss this. And I originally volunteered to write some text about that, and I probably still want to do that. So I think that's the biggest construction side that we still have open. Any comments? Then we have
is this critical path for the document, that previous group? Seems like it is.
Yes. So the point is that we are not defining everything in this document. We are providing essentially extension points so people can go ahead and define things afterwards.
Right, but so it's critical path to get those extension points defined is what I'm concluding. Whereas the previous two things we talked about, if we didn't do it in this document, that would be okay.
Well, okay, I don't know, but that would not be a disaster.
Okay, but is mechanically doable is what I'm trying to say.
Yes. So finally, there have been some other technical issues. One was about the semantic conflict between SDF choice and enum, and there was a discussion in the GitHub issue today. So we just have to define what that means. And we have the question whether we can express SDF features in SDF files. So this is strictly speaking an info block issue, but it is something that is closer to home than other info block information. So that is something that is probably more on the nice to have side, but once we start evolving the model language, having a way of indicating these features is going to become very important, and we shouldn't surprise people to by a new feature to indicate features, because that's kind of self-recurring. Sorry.
Maybe a process question. Is it the number 87? I was wondering if you could even close it right now. So is now an appropriate time to go into details, or we want to go through all the issues in high level and then go to the details?
Well, if we can get one or two issues really nailed down here, I would be very happy.
Okay, well then on the 87, I mean, as I mentioned in the GitHub issue right before this meeting, I would go for disallowing having both, because the conflict issue that Jan Roman pointed out, I wonder if there are considerations to think about what if there are issues doing that way. But then the one thing that we would need to write a bit of text is about SDF refing. So if you SDF ref from a definition that is using one to another definition that is using the other, how do you do the merge? And here I think the obvious thing would be to do only SDF choice. So turn the other enum into SDF choice, because SDF choice can represent more things. Would that be an appropriate solution?
Well, the problem, let me quickly answer that, because I have a comment in the GitHub issue that I just want to relay here. The problem really is that when you SDF ref something, you just don't know whether the author this week uses SDF choice or enum. So that is a problem. What you are saying magically starts to depend on which of the two the referenced author was using at the time. The other thing, of course, is that the resolution process is well defined, and I would be very much against putting semantic processing into the resolution process. So I think what we really need to do is define what we do after a resolution process that presents us with such a conflict. And I would say, well, if we are going to have these conflicts in any case, then we simply can define what it means to have both qualities there, and an obvious solution would be to just merge them.
Yeah, I think that's what I suggested. Maybe I wrote something random in the issue, or then I'm missing something important. Because I think the solution I propose would not depend on whatever is used on the other one. I mean, you always end up with SDF choice. Well, okay, you would end up in SDF choice if one of them is using SDF choice. If both use enum, I guess then you could, in theory, stick with an enum. Or am I missing something here?
That means we have to change the resolution process to actually look at the qualities that are kind of conflicting from the both parts, and apply some semantic processing to that to generate the result of the resolution. And yeah, that can be very powerful, but that also can become very complicated. So my hope was that we could leave the resolution process alone. And as I wrote, we had the same problem in Cinemel. And in the end, in that specific example, we decided not to have two attributes. And because it's really complicated to do that merging. But we could come up with a different solution here. I just think it should be compatible with the fact that merging might lead to one of these conflicts, and the person referencing a particular model should not have his model broken if that reference model switches from enum to SDF choice or back.
Not having their model broken seems like a big ask.
Yeah, I guess this is one of those. It turned out to be slightly more complicated than I initially thought. So I'll think about it. But thanks for the clarifications, Karsten. Now I understand there's two different merging processes. One is this SDF-ref merging, and then there's the merging of enum and SDF choice. And I guess it's the SDF-ref merging which you want to keep as much as it is right now, right?
Yes.
And then whether you do on the second step something, that's what we need to then talk about. Yeah, I agree on that approach. So, but basically, I would say that even in a single model without any SDF refing, you would be allowed to have both, but we should write. I mean, they should not be in conflict. I mean, I guess the wording would be something like you should not have. I mean, you may have, but it's a bad idea to have both because of conflicts. But it's possible to have it, but they must not be in conflict. Is that kind of the level of language we would end up?
Yeah, there definitely would be a big should saying that this is not something you should intentionally create. But the question is, how do we handle this in a way that we get the best properties out of the SDF ref process at the same time? And I'm not sure about that.
Mm.
Michael.
Okay, that took a while to unmute. I think this recent discussion has sort of clarified it for me, but I wanted to point out that I did experiment with some semantic exception processing in some of the stuff I worked on with SDF choice, because I felt like the merge for SDF choice really wasn't very useful. So I thought SDF choice, refining of SDF choice should be sort of narrowing the field of choices instead of expanding, which is what the merge would do. RFC, whatever, JSON merge style merge would do, merge hatch style, I guess they call it. So I think there's still some questions there, but I fully agree that we should not add some semantic exceptions. I didn't like I mean, the result worked, but I didn't really like it was just kind of too ugly, I think, kind of what I concluded. So I'm still looking for how you would manage to refine SDF choice to reduce the number of choices instead of merge, but I don't think semantic exceptions are the solution.
So Michael, to understand your case of expanding or reducing the scope, I guess how it would work, like now forgetting enum for a while, but just having two SDF choices. If you SDF ref another definition which has more choices, then you're actually expanding because you're adding more choices on the enum, right?
Yes. The idea is that for managing, and what I found in my work with actual data models at Smart Things and Passive Logic and all, is that you kind of want to have a master enum, which is really more like a registry that you pull from. So I think maybe the solution might be in other words, you want to have all the choices somewhere that you point to. And I think this might be more appropriate to use SDF relation and point to a registry thing and then enumerate the things in your choice rather than try to use the merge patch as a way to refine choice. But yeah, I think that you've described what the use case is exactly. That it's to basically have a thing that you can validate against, but In other words, that you've chosen one of the choices that's one of the valid choices, and has encodings and has enums and has, you know, internationalization and all of that. So you've picked one from the field, but you really want to pick, like, you know, the fan state, the fan mode enums and the oven modes and all of that. Yeah, I'm going to build an oven that has 5 modes, but all of ovens in the world have probably like 100 different enumerated modes. At least that's kind of what we ended up with at SmartThings. That's kind of the use case.
Yeah, and I guess we don't have, as of today, a way to remove from an enum things, or do we?
Well, the merge patch can remove entries of a map. So if that is what you want to do, you just give the name and set it to null. And that will remove things that were in the referenced enum. Or well, enum doesn't work, but SDF choice.
But then
Okay.
if you wanted to use that to do it, select a subset from a very large enum, you'd have to null. Would you have to null each one? I guess.
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it would be actually useful to have an example of that, unless we already have it somewhere. This merging with the null.
Yep.
And how, because that's let's say a non-obvious feature.
Well, obvious to the people who were in the merge patch standardization process, but yes.
Yeah, I guess that's one way.
I use it all the time. I mean, it's like it's the only way you can do editing, but it didn't seem to be a solution for this particular problem.
Yeah, the problem really is that once these choices or enums get large, you really want to write a program to do the processing, and say delete all the things that have oven in the name or something like that. And that's not something we can reasonably do. So maybe we'll have an extension for adding programs to our models at some point, but not today. So I don't think we can really solve this in a way that will satisfy, will be really great for all areas of application, but we can make it work in the majority of cases.
And now I actually found a note in the draft saying that there's a to-do of making sure that null is supported. So yeah, maybe it's just a matter of putting a sentence in SDSRef that yes, you can actually do that by standard merge patch. And an example would be great.
The to-do points out that really the CDDL is about merged documents. It doesn't describe the documents that go into the merge. And that is, of course, your typical problem when you are validating or modeling data structures that undergo some processing. Then you really would need a model for each step in the processing, and these models are all almost the same. So I'm not sure we want to solve that problem, and I think that's what the note was about. But yeah, let's have an example so people know what this note is about.
Perfect, thanks.
Can you add that to the issue? Or add a new issue, actually?
I can do that.
Thank you. Great, so time check, we have 25 minutes left, if I'm correct. Okay, so there are 3 more groups. One is a group of issues that really are about making sure that we correctly interface with these other documents that we talked about in the beginning. So number 84 is about an interface to the link-oriented drafts, and number 76 is about interfacing to mapping files. And this is an issue where there isn't a clear definition of done. Yeah, we want to make sure that we have captured everything in the base document that is needed to make these additional documents viable. Yeah, which doesn't mean that I know how to process these, but probably having the people who wrote these 3 documents think about the issue is a good start. Then we have a few issues that really are blocked on cycles. One is that the JSON schema CDDL definition is pretty weird. The JSON schema org definition is generated from the CDDL, and in JSON schema org you sometimes have to repeat things, which is okay if you just use it for validating, but if you want to edit that JSON schema org definition, you will spend a lot of time. But maybe that's not something that would be a surprise to JSON schema org people. So I'm prepared to simply leave this open because the JSON schema org schema does work the way it is. It's just not beautiful. Michael.
Yep, waiting for the unmute again. Quick comment that there's still kind of an open issue on how mapping and bindings work and whether there are schema extensions involved. And sort of I experimented with a thing that's actually kind of being talked about in the JSONschema.org world right now, which is using multiple schemas to validate an instance and how you overlay them, and extending a definition by adding a schema for just the part you're adding. And that all seemed to be pretty relevant to some of our issues with mapping and binding. So, but then we'd have to expose JSON schema as an extension point. And what I found was that you couldn't, with the way that things are repeated, yeah, you have to repeat yourself, but in this particular conversion, the repeated things are huge blocks. So it isn't really editable in a way that, that you could do confidently, or even machine editable, because you'd probably have to change several blocks for some of the edits and to add a feature. So it seems like we'd want to do those extensions in CDDL. But anyway, that's as far as I thought about it. But that was just a comment. I don't think we need to discuss it, but that was a comment that maybe I should add to the issue there.
Yeah.
Michael,
do you have a pointer to something that shows what you're trying to do?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have some experimental schemas, but also there was somebody wrote a paper recently, and I'll try to find the pointer to that. I couldn't find it right now. I know it's
that would be great.
Yeah,
Michael, just leave your microphone selected, and then mute yourself in the bottom right, which is much faster, because then it doesn't rip down the audio channel.
Oh, hey.
Yeah. The reason why it rips down the audio channel is because there were people that were concerned that they couldn't tell from the network whether or not they were really muted, and so that's why we have these 2 microphones, right?
Well, that explains the latency. Thanks.
Yeah.
I'll just leave my mic open. Ari's on the queue.
Ari,
just talk. You don't need to put your hand up with 5 people in the room.
Okay, trying to be polite here, like Nicholas suggested. Yeah, on this topic, I mean, related question. When we define new extensions, should we provide CDDL of those extensions with the specifications, and is there a process how you can fold them to the master CDDL and have all automated, that you could say do a check which includes also these extensions? I guess it's mainly
yeah,
a
that's
CDDL
exactly
question.
what I was. Yep.
Yeah,
that's it.
I guess it's to you, Karsten.
Well, obviously we don't have that now, and it sounds to me like we probably should have that.
Okay, so but should we then so let's say if that's coming to, well, is there a CDDL language feature or sort of feature supporting that kind of thing? I don't know what that would actually look like, but that the spec is actually multiple files.
In CDL 1.0, you can have multiple files, but these are just all thrown in a big bucket and then interpreted together. There is work on CDL 2.0 in the CBOR working group, and there is a draft out there that explains the initial set of capabilities we want to achieve there. And maybe this is your requirements for this would be very useful input for the CDL 2.0 process in the CBOR working group. So right now I'm implementing what I have written in the draft, and I have a very interesting implementation. And if that actually did what the draft says, I would be happier, but I'm working on it. And so I expect that we will be able to play with the tool within a couple of weeks. And so this process should not take too long, because there are lots of people out there that want to compose CDDL out of multiple pieces, and we need to help them.
Yeah, I just used merge patch in my experiments, and that was kind of unsatisfying. So I'm happy to hear that there's a way to do that coming up.
Excellent. And I do remember there was this feature version in CDDL that I guess you could somehow indicate if some feature is supported or not. But I guess altogether, I'm wondering, like, if we should, let's say, for example, do the SDF relations draft and an SDF link draft, if we should write some fragments of CDDL that could then somehow automatically by tools could be, imported, do the master CDDL, and you could do validation somehow nicely automatically. That's kind of where I would love to go. I guess that's a high-level requirement I have in mind. So whatever way is the good way to do that, that would be nice.
Yeah, I think the important thing is to communicate based on examples.
And what you're saying is really to manage to, rather than try to make the extensions cause a new CDDL schema for all of SDF, we want to manage extensions as subschemas that get applied through a defined process.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
Yeah, and I'm thinking it also, of course, has a relation with the info block feature that we discussed in the beginning. It would be nice if I can somehow indicate that there's some way to automatically map that when I say in the info block feature name that, hey, it is actually this piece of CDDL, and that would then be validated based on the set of features indicated in the info block. I mean, whatever way is the good way to automate that. I think that would be very useful.
You make it sound so easy.
I mean, my requirements are easy, but let's see how we work them out. Okay, thanks.
Good. And the other two things on the slide are really things that we can do during doing our work in the working group last call. So add some more automated checks, add test cases, in particular negative test cases. Yeah, so I don't think we want to finish these issues before starting working group last call, because we will actually do the work checking the specification based on what we do in completing these issues. Good. Now we have 18 issues. The next group is an editorial group. So one question was what is the meaning of top level information in the model, information that is not tied to an SDF object. So we need to explain that this is just stuff lying around that can be referenced. We have to do the line breaking to get into 69 columns. We have to, no, we don't have to, it would be nice to have examples for SDF where we don't have SDF pointers to input output parameters anymore. Not quite sure. Yeah, let's find out what that was. But fortunately, we have somebody who has assigned themselves to this item, which is Michael.
Yeah, I guess I need to figure out what that is.
Yes, please. And
I'm sure I have notes.
Then we have the meta editing question when we call something SDF foo, when we just call it foo. So I don't think we will write this up, but I think we need to come up with an explanation, at least in the next version of the document. So 63 and 54 we have to do. The other are nice to haves, and 60, if Michael, if you find something, let's do that. 11 I would propose not doing. And then we have an age group.
Resolve it. Thanks. Okay.
We have an age group of issues, number 88, which Ari just submitted. Yeah, so this is the set of issues. As I said, we really want to do our readiness check, and those test cases and consistency checks belong in there, but we also want to check our readiness in the relationship to the other three drafts, to the future drafts, mapping, namespaces. Well, that's not a draft that comes up in the two link drafts and the link functionality itself. So this is something that is not captured as a separate issue, but needs to be done. And of course, we need to do our own design reviews, as we always do in a working group last call. So this is kind of the next step when the 18 issues, or the 16 issues that we want to cover of the 18 issues are done. So the strategy for the first RFC hasn't really changed. We still want to minimize further additions and want to finish what we have. We want to check the need for things and the readiness of things, and we want to make sure the extension points we will need in the future are at least available, even if we haven't fully specified them. We should work in such a way that these extension points can be added without every implementation out there breaking catastrophically because they didn't know that this extension point was going to come in. I'm done.
Cool. These slides are going on the GitHub. This looks like a great reference to sort of keep looking back at, as you know, we try to do things offline, right? So I noticed there hadn't been much uploaded to the slides in the GitHub for a while. Maybe that's, but it would be nice to have these, right? Or where do I find these? Maybe I'm just looking in the wrong place.
So right now they are on the data tracker for ASDF, but
right.
I will push
so I
them
can go
to
back and find.
when. Yeah. I was trying to trying to sort out all these files and links and stuff going in different directions, putting things in the right place. So I will also put them in the GitHub. It's a bit of a chore to keep all these things in sync, but we'll put them on the ASDF GitHub as well, on the meeting notes.
Yeah, or maybe just a link. The data tracker is persistent, right? It doesn't get deleted, so it could just be a link probably somehow. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, so they are right now on the data tracker. So
yeah, I just forgot about looking there.
Yep. But thanks. But thank you, Carsten. And this. I mean, the obvious question is how long time do we think this takes? And I mean, there's a bunch of smallish things, but still, we have. What do you think? A couple of weeks or?
Well, that depends a lot on how much input we get. So it's hard to plan, but I think we should have a dash 14 in about 4 weeks from now.
Yeah, maybe should we actually try to define set some target milestone in 4 weeks time, or when Ari is back from his vacation, perhaps is a better idea.
Yeah, indeed, that's gives a bit of a challenge. So I'm gonna be on vacation after next week for 3 weeks, and next week is completely gone because that's the week before vacations.
So I hear you said you have 3 weeks of vacation to work on this?
I have 3 weeks of vacation to think about it. I'm not sure how much keyboard I'm allowed to touch during the vacation, but I may give it a shot.
But what is the date when you're back? So that must be mid-February something.
I think it was 15th.
Give them a week to get back and then do all the work.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like on Monday after you're back. It's more like we can take it.
Yeah.
Well,
on 15th, I'm planning to be back in business.
Okay, yeah, I probably should mention that week 7 is a week of intense teaching for me, so I'm not going to be able to finish anything in week 7, but I could finish things in week 8.
So week 8 is the week of February 20th. That sounds like a good week to have another virtual interim.
So guess what week is sort of spring vacation week in Sweden?
Oh, is it?
Yes. Damn it. And
week
then
9?
we're already in March.
Unless we aim for
week
Monday.
9 is perhaps better. Yeah, we can take it on Monday then.
But I mean, early March is fine. 2.
So should we aim for week 9 then?
Week 9,
that
yes.
So
this is the date of the interim meeting, and we want to have the document a little bit earlier than that.
Yeah, of course. But is this time good to have an interim for people? In particular, so this would be the 2nd of March.
Yeah, there is an ISG meeting on March 2nd. So if we don't want to have ADs in the meeting, that is great.
Mondays are usually more free than the other days of the week, at least for me. I don't know how it's for everyone
Monday
else.
at this time slot would work because I can't take it later, but this time slot would work.
Yeah, we could steal the 1 DM slot.
But the 1 DM slot is 4?
It's 5 Central.
Yes, but it's not on that week, is it?
It's in February 27th.
Oh, crap. I don't have it in my calendar.
Yeah, maybe I'm confused.
I think we have 1 DM on even weeks, right? And because I have another meeting in the same slot on even weeks. Okay, should we try to have in week 9?
Yeah.
In week 9, another interim, and then hopefully have the document or things a bit closer to being done by then.
Yeah, Ash Wednesday is a great deadline.
Sorry, which day?
Ash Wednesday, the end of Carnival.
Yeah.
You're planning for a fun carnival.
Yeah.
Draft carnival.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, cool. Yeah. Good. So we have a couple more minutes. We don't need to use them if we don't want to. Is there anything else that we...
So Nicholas, you're going to post a meeting request for 116 for 1 hour?
I was thinking so, yes. Yeah, we said earlier that we should maybe think about it if we can put together like what we would think would be a good program. But I don't know if we can, or if we discuss that right now.
You can always withdraw the meeting request in the next week or two. So.
Yeah. Okay, I can do a meeting request, or I can try to work with the data tracker tools to do a meeting request. 1 hour. How many people should we guess for? 20 or
20.
High number? Yep.
Yep. And
by the way,
you can also, you might as well just put all our names in as, critical people, as well as, you probably know the list of conflicts, but
and
but
Michael,
it's probably you that have more conflicts. It's maybe, I mean, I don't want to sort of skip the work, but maybe it's easier if you you are more conflicted than I.
Well, either you tell the data tracker that I have to be there and I can't be conflicted with something else, or you don't, right? So
yeah, but I mean, there's
right.
also this list of conflicting groups, right?
Yeah, you can put conflicting groups, but as chairs, we're listed as someone who must be there, which fundamentally prevents us them from scheduling two groups that we happen to be chairs for into the same slot. But then there's a technology. But I'm saying if you also list Michael, Karsten, and Ari, then that also instantly deals with any other chair conflicts they might have. That's all.
Yep.
And you can list working groups, right? I'm just saying that it's not a shorthand. It's just it's a additive process. Anyway.
Yeah. I'm just thinking that I must be sort of honest and say I don't keep full track of all the IoT groups anymore, so I'm a bit difficult to.
Yeah, okay. Well, I can come back and put some in if you like, or whatever.
Yeah.
You probably have some
Okay.
listed.
I'll set something up, and then we can, and maybe we should through the coming week discuss perhaps on Telegram or another meeting how we set up this.
Let's do it on the ideally let's do it on the mailing list, talking about that, because that will create some activity and some visibility for other people that are maybe on the list.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Cool.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Yes, same here. Thank you, guys. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you, Karsten, for doing slides and everything, and pushing the editorial stuff forward. Looking forward for the next version, and yeah, we'll talk again soonish, I guess. Great.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.